Also, if they can do that, they have to be very careful of how they process the body in the retort to prevent the retort from catching on fire because of all the excess body fluids that may catch on fire and also cause the retort to burn down.
With all this cross-country travel, we had to stop. It was the home of Garrett's maternal grandmother. The boy's mother was killed in a freak accident recently. The tragedy made Garrett more aware of the fragility of life, and if living is within our control, then we should strive to stay healthy. All living things have a distinctive energy field around them that can be measured and even photographed. Garrett remembered before he left on this trip an experiment with an aerospace engineer named Christopher Wadke. In this take, what this engineer demonstrated was a comparison between a slice of cooked and uncooked organic baby carrot. The cooked carrot is on the left. The uncooked is on the right. The uncooked carrot has a startling line of strong energy that's clearly lacking in this cooked carrot that was steamed for 10 minutes. What this means is that pasteurized food is dead. Garrett held a funeral for the latest victim, the almond. We then tried the experiment with a piece of conventionally grown apple and a piece of organically grown apple. The results were more subtle, but the apple piece on the right is organically grown, the left conventionally grown. An organically grown tomato. A conventionally grown tomato. The photographic technique utilizes 50,000 volts and a broad range of frequencies to resonate with the test objects, capturing their patterns for analysis, whether living or non-living. The boy found the results consistent and fascinating, an area of study that needs a closer look.
Kirlian photography is the iridology of the future, where we can see markers in the aura that's around people's bodies, and these markers indicate where their health is deficient and where their health is fine.
All of the homework that Garrett did was finally coming together. His study of the Gerson therapy was now close to completion. The Gerson therapy is no secret, never has been, and it works. It is simple, but requires compliance and dedication. Very basically, it utilizes fresh-pressed organic juices, delicious organic meals, and, oh yes, coffee, as in coffee enemas. Dr. Gerson gave an example of 50 recovered patients in his original book in the late 1950s that was representative of thousands of recoveries at that time. All the patients were diagnosed with extremely detailed records at leading medical centers around the country. During and after the treatment, the medical records from independent medical centers bear out the results, and the results bear out a beautiful truth. Gerson cured his good friend Dr. Albert Schweitzer of adult-onset diabetes, and then his wife of lung tuberculosis, and then his daughter of a rare skin disease. It is something Schweitzer would never forget, and they exchanged letters up until Gerson's death in 1959. The cancer industry is about money and drugs, yet all the money in the world won't save you if you make the wrong decision. You might as well be homeless. The boy is certain that many of the famous and talented would have changed history and culture if they could have only known.
Garrett, on the question of what does the pancreas do? Essentially, the job of the pancreas is to digest food.
The pancreas has a key role to play in the Gerson therapy, and in this boy's simple graphic, it is clear the human intestinal tract is longer than that of the carnivore. The digestion in a human becomes quite compromised if he starts to eat animal protein, stressing the pancreas as well as the digestive tract.
But the pancreas has one additional very important job, and that is to protect the body from malignant cells. The pancreas recognizes malignant cells if they develop and digests and kills them, gets rid of them. When you overload the pancreas, as most Americans do, with excess animal protein foods, all the jobs, all the ability of the pancreas is used up just trying to digest and get rid of all this animal products, and there's nothing left to protect you from the malignant cells. The immune system is paralyzed.
Then the question was posed to Howard by the Slovenian guest how the coffee enema works.
Why?
Well, what happened was that the caffeine in the coffee enema was absorbed by the hemorrhoidal vein, which is wrapped around your descending colon. That is a vein. It's a drainage system, not a distribution system like an artery. So that's part of the portal venous system, which then brings the caffeine directly to the liver, directly to the liver.
Okay.
Not just the caffeine, but also some of the other elements of coffee.
Okay.
Cafestol and kawiol.
Okay.
And potassium.
And potassium, very important, potassium.
Okay.
So then the liver is stimulated to produce glutathione S transferase and bile. Now, what the glutathione S transferase does, it is a blood cleansing enzyme. Of course, pharmaceutical companies have wanted to produce something that would stimulate glutathione S transferase, but they can't patent it. Because if they could clean the blood, that would be wonderful, but they can't.
Okay.
So we say, coffee enema, coffee enema.
Okay.
And they say, go away, kid, we can't patent that.
The coffee enema is prepared with 3 tablespoons of fine ground organic coffee. Then it is simmered for 15 minutes. It is then poured through a filter into a 1-quart container. Distilled water is also added to restore it to a quart. Then it is poured into an enema bucket. Once the coffee has drained into the patient lies on his right side, knees drawn up for approximately 10 to 13 minutes, and then evacuates. But in order for the boy to truly be impacted on a personal level, he needed to meet cancer patients to believe it for himself. No more pictures, no more books. Garrett wanted to go to Mexico. The boy was surprised at how pleasant the surroundings were and how happy the cancer patients seemed. They were here from all over the world. Garrett ate with them and listened to their stories. The laboratory tests on the patients are extensive and carefully watched. Most patients only stay at the clinic 1 to 3 weeks and then go home to recover. One of the patients from New Zealand was eager to visit with Garrett.
So how long have you been here?
3 weeks yesterday. I came here straight from the Mayo Clinic in Florida, and I've got melanoma in my bones, spine, leg, liver, lungs, and limbs. Since I've been here, inside myself I feel hugely different, much stronger physically, and I've lost the nausea. Within myself I feel 100% better than when I came. So I came here from the Mayo Clinic. They told me that I had 4 to 6 months to live if I didn't do chemo, and if I did chemo I would have 6 to 8 months to live with what I have. If I had really good chemo, that's like top of the line, and I responded, I might have a year. So looking at those options, I decided to look elsewhere. My sister flew over to meet me, and she was reading Ian Gould's book about his recovery from cancer. He had bone cancer, where he was given 2 weeks to live. And after trying the Gerson therapy for several months and then adapting it, he's now still alive and has got the Ngula Foundation in Australia. I trust it actually with my life. That's why I'm here.
And I'm talking to Mrs. Gerson and talking.
And then Howard and Garrett spoke with one of the clinic's doctors.
Cases that we have.
And what do you see? What do you see in the first few days of?
In the first few days with doing the coffee enemas, I started to notice changes. Their pain starts to diminish. Their energy is increasing. Patients that come here the first day with blood pressure in the first week disappears. Goodbye taking blood pressure medications.
Oh, yeah.
And the patients aren't realizing, you know what, there's something more here than just a coffee enema and detox and organic diet and juices. They start to see the changes. And as I start to believe in what the hope they're believing, and I tell them it's more than hope, it's a reality.
Reality.
And it starts changing their way of life.
And you, as a physician, must get phenomenal satisfaction.
It excites me, unbelievable, to see changes in the blood work, in the x-rays, something that I can actually touch, feel, because I see these patients every day.
From Tijuana, Garrett traveled south to meet a cancer patient that was recovering against all odds, at home with the Gerson therapy. In the mountains outside San Cristobal de las Casas, Howard Strauss guided Garrett to meet this patient, who is the same age as Garrett. Her name is Lupita. Lupita overcame a cancer called an ovarian teratoma, which has astounded her doctor. Utilizing the Gerson therapy under extremely difficult conditions proved to Garrett that anything is possible if one simply has faith. For Lupita, fresh organic vegetables and fruits are not difficult to find. Ironically, truly organic produce in the United States is harder to come by. The Gerson Institute in San Diego has extensive files of case histories for anyone to see.
12 months after the diagnosis of prostate cancer, I was cancer-free within 12 months. And that was proven by the MRI and other imaging tests that I had, and which found amazingly that the cancer was completely gone from my sacrum, from my pelvis, from my liver, and from the prostate. 32 months after diagnosis, I did yet another MRI, a second MRI, and that reconfirmed that the cancer was completely gone from my body, in all areas of my body. And if anyone doubts this, I have all the medical records to prove it. I brought all the medical records with me, from the doctor's reports to the scans to the imagings, and they prove it beyond a doubt. It's just an amazing thing.
The pathology reports speak for themselves. Garrett found recovered patients everywhere with proof from their doctors.
The Gerson therapy cured my fibromyalgia.
But then I showed Garrett footage I had taken almost 5 years ago of a patient that was given a death sentence by conventional medicine. She had extra ovarian primary peritoneal carcinoma, stage 4. No one had ever recovered from such a cancer using orthodox medicine. So here she was, using the Gerson therapy in a last-ditch effort. And now, 5 years later, Garrett was looking at the results. Was he reading her obituary? This was her story.
He leaves the room and goes, down the hall for a minute, and he comes back in the door and he crosses his hands across his chest. And just in astonishment, he looks at me and he says, "You're the only patient we have seen that has survived this diagnosis." He said, "This is unheard of." And so I told him that if he ever got sick, to give me a call. And I would help him.
Garrett wanted to push this further, and so he asked this patient to go back to the Mayo Clinic to get a statement from her diagnostic doctor that the Gerson therapy cured her. The